Test. Right. Hey everybody, and welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, evidently with my mic off, and Chris King. Happy Tuesday, and happy Rock Chalk Jayhawk, if you happen to be a Kansas fan. The Kansas Jayhawks are the reigning champions now of the NCAA men's basketball. So you got Kansas and you got South Carolina on the women's side, and we can start talking hoops again in about 2 months for college. Right now, it's Jayhawks win, and unfortunately for many out there, the Carolina run with the Tar Heels, all 5 of them, player-wise, can come in a little while. We can chat about that. We got a guest coming up. We're going to talk baseball. And anything he wants, there's plenty of, you all know Ray. You love him. Sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. We always love Ray. My partner in crime on the Buccaneers pregame show, Ray Kennedy, will join us to talk about baseball in just a minute. However, before we get started in that, Chris, we want to, of course, chat about our buddies at Caesar Sportsbook, because they're our guys. Caesar Sportsbook is going to give you $1,100 in first bet insurance. Place your first time wager of up to $1,100 and get it back in the form of a free bet if you lose, okay? So even if you lose, you still win, all right? But here's the key. You got to use our promo code. There's the promo code. In the show box below, go to the show box below. It's down there. Click on it. Open it up. Click on the Caesars link. It'll take you there. Use the promo code, and you're going to get $1,100 in bet insurance, okay? So, as we always say, wager wisely, and you must be 21 years of age to participate. So, without any further ado, we'll get his take on last night's basketball game, and then we'll talk baseball with the one, the only, Ray Kennedy. Hey, Ray.
Chris.
Been a while, my friend. How are you, buddy?
Yeah. Well, it's good, boy. I tell you what, dude. I'm glad I didn't run to the sportsbook at halftime last night and try to put some late money down on the Tar Heels because they're up by 15 at halftime. But Chris, man, Kansas came back and locked that thing down. Is that who you liked in that game?
I did think I thought Kansas would win. I was worried not just about North Carolina's lack of depth, which we did see in Spades last night, where they played 6 guys. You had one guy throw up on the floor. And I was worried about Bacon. I know people are going to now bring out the conspiracy theory that he slipped on a loose floorboard in the Superdome, and that's how he got hurt in the final minute. The bottom line is, if he was going to get hurt, he would have got hurt in the first 39 and a half minutes on that floorboard rather than on the next to last possession.
And he was dealing with the hurt ankle anyway coming into the game, so it wasn't like there was and that's what I think it was the same leg if I'm not wrong, if I'm correct on that.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
And the big thing was that bothered me was that they gave the most outstanding player to Agbaji. I don't think when you shoot 4 of 9 from the field and go 3 of 8 at the free throw line and score 12 points, that you should be the most outstanding player. We said yesterday that if it was going to go to anybody, it should have gone to McCormick, based on what he did against Villanova, 25 and 9 in that one. Then he had 15 and 10 yesterday, including the last 2 buckets of the game that changed the outcome of that contest. But of course, Vegas and everybody wanted to minimize their losses, and to the guy that was the the prohibitive favorite at plus 120 as opposed to some guy that was plus 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever he was.
Yeah, that's because I mean, we lose March Madness in 2020 with the pandemic, and it was good to have it back. It was great to see it packed Caesars Dome there, if you will, in Louisiana, and good to see even the field house and the different respective stadiums for the individual teams just crowded. It's great to be gotten to that better place that we've gotten to now in 2022. But yeah, he was the favorite going in. That was the one all the lights were on, as you so eloquently put there, Chris. He was the favorite in the MVP, and then they give it to him. And yeah, I mean, there's always going to be some kind of a thing that we're looking at going. Definitely
makes you want to go. Yes.
But yeah, and yesterday, Jim, of course, the biggest deficit overcome in a national title game in the tournament's history, going all the way back to 1939. So you've got that as well. Hubert Davis, he pushed all the right buttons for 20 minutes, but sooner or later they just ran out of gas. They didn't have enough guys.
Man, do I feel old? I'm watching it with my son last night. Sorry, Jim. I'm watching it with my 13-year-old son, Tristan, and I'm like, I remember when Hubie Davis was playing as a Tar Heel, was playing in North Carolina, phenomenal player. And, he's just a coach now. It's not like the guy just got the Lifetime Achievement Award for the Academy Awards or something. That would be a total slap in the face. But I'm just kidding. But, it's like I'm watching, here's Hubert Davis, a fantastic coach his first year there in North Carolina, gets him to the finals. So look for good things in the future again from the Carolina Tar Heels as we move forward.
That's right. Some people are saying, who's the guy? All right, the guy, for those of you asking, is...
It's Hollywood Ray Kennedy.
Right.
He's the third guy for the NWO.
Right. No, it's Ray. It's Ray Kennedy. Ray covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Tampa Bay Rays and all things Tampa Bay. And so we want to talk. He also covers baseball and football. And I had the pleasure of co-hosting the Buccaneers pregame show with him this past year. It was a lot of fun.
Good times.
And,
great times. Chris,
who knows?
Chris got in that party. Yes.
Chris got there a lot too, and Brady's back, so who knows what might happen this year. But we didn't bring you here to talk about Brady. We want to talk a little bit.
We can't talk about Austin Meadows getting traded yesterday, Ray. What do you make of that?
The narrative here is the reason why the Rays have such a problem with fan attendance is this team doesn't hold on to their superstars. They make trades, they get deals, they make room for a Josh Lowe to come up from Durham and moving. So Austin Meadows, who they had slated in the DH position to really start the season off. Great outfield player, love this kid, former All-Star. But the Rays continue to always try, and this wasn't such a value thing where trading for Paredes and getting him in here better known for his he's a young guy, but I think they continue to make room on the roster because the Rays, the one thing you have to do when you're going up against the behemoths of the East and the $275+ million payrolls, and you're having that issue with revenues down here, and of course the stadium thing is now a big hot topic here in the Bay Area. What's going to happen there? But do I hate to see Austin Meadows go? Yeah, because the Rays won 100 games in 2021, and Austin Meadows is a large part of that offense. But I can question them at this point. They continue to pull the right strings there, Chris.
Well, are you worried? Do you think part of it was the fact that he's not a contact hitter, and that's something that's played into Tampa Bay's strengths is getting on base and stuff like that? I mean, he had 205 in 2020. He had just 234 last year. I know he had 27 homers and drove in 106. But I mean, can you afford to have basically the equivalent of the modern day Rob Deere or Adam Dunn in your lineup when you're Tampa Bay?
Well, the irony is that, we see the league now, of course, the Detroit Tigers, their fans, and Detroit Tiger fans are happy to be they're really excited to get in Austin Meadows, and rightly so. But as the Major League Baseball even starts to talk about doing away with the shift and doing away with some of these things that the Rays have utilized to their advantage for so long to continue to win the AL East, get to the World Series against the Dodgers 2 years ago, now you're going against, sometimes you need to have those contact hitters and play small ball, and I think you're going to see that in the future. I think this is they were shopping Meadows this entire well, just abbreviated spring with the 99-day lockout. But, they were shopping them, and they had no takers. They get a trade here a couple of days before the season. And, again, I think it's to make room for Josh Lowe to come up, and he's also an outfielder. Doesn't have the offensive numbers that an Austin Meadows has. But, again, the Rays, they pulled the trigger on these things, and they find value where others don't usually. So, I think we have to wait and see on this one. But losing Austin Meadows, I can tell you right now today, Chris and Jim, in Tampa Bay, a lot of people, the minute they walk up to me, they're like, Austin Meadows, what's going on? And I'm like, wait, we're not talking about Brady or Arians, we're not talking about football. We're excited for the start of the Major League Baseball season this week, as I'm sure you guys are as well.
Yeah, for sure. Tim Earls here. Good morning, Tim. Quick question from our buddy Michael. He wants to say how much longer the Rays in Tampa Bay, Las Vegas, Montreal, other. Michael, if I may, I began this business in 1978. In 1978, the A's in Oakland were sold to a gentleman by the name of Frank Morsanti in Tampa. Okay, the A's have been moving out of Oakland since 1978, and they're still there. Okay, baseball is not going to move the A's, or they're not going to move the Tampa Bay Rays franchise because of two things. One, they have a very strong situation with the 1928 Act, which gives baseball its exemption.
The Sherman Antitrust Act?
The Antitrust Act. Thank you. The Antitrust Act. Baseball has a full-on antitrust act. Limited the NBA, the NHL, and football have limited. Okay, so moving a franchise. There's only been 13 franchise moves since 110 years, and 3 of those have been Washington.
Okay?
And ironically, the A's have been have been 3. It was Philly to Kansas City, and then it was Kansas City to Oakland. So I don't think they're in any rush to do that. The other thing, and the other reason is this: from a purely financial standpoint, if they want to expand to 32 teams, and the 2 front runners are Vegas, which you listed on your list, and Nashville. If you want to buy a franchise and get into the Major League Baseball, it's going to cost you $3 billion. Okay, so that's $6 billion that 30 teams can split among themselves. If the A's moved from Oakland to Vegas and the Rays moved to Nashville, it would be a net nothing. Okay, they don't get anything for the teams moving. So that's why you don't see in baseball movement as much as you would say, as we've seen we've seen the Rams themselves move back and forth, and the Raiders move back and forth a couple times. So that's the reason you don't see it in Major League Baseball. The Sherman Antitrust Act and the fact that they can get more money for teams when they basically have a situation in that regard. So
the thing that scares me though is, and baseball's been so slow. Oh, sorry, Jim.
No, go ahead.
The thing that scares me is that with the NFL and NHL, with the Golden Knights, and then with the Vegas, with the Raiders, and the fact that all these teams now are really, we've gotten past this whole it's a bugaboo, legalized gambling. Gambling's been around forever. Now it's legalized, and the professional sports are actually kind of, okay, we can use this to our advantage, and it's a two-way street. We can get analytics to the sports books, and we can really delve deep down into our wagers and really have some fun with this, because really, Chris, you know as well as anyone, when you start diving down into the numbers, and more knowledge is good, you get away from those silly bets and you start really analyzing that data. And Major League Baseball, I don't know if it's because of Pete Rose and, Commissioner Giamatti back in the day in the Lifetime ban or what, but they've really drug their heels with this. But you got to imagine at some point they're going to really start looking at this, because it's a revenue generator, huge revenue generator. And then when that happens, then, Jim, I see what you're saying, and I agree with it, but I'll tell you what, there'll be any one of the Major League Baseball teams that but Vegas, when Vegas decides they want to get one and Major League Baseball decides to have one there, they're going to find that way, right? So, got to get a stadium. The stadium situation here in Tampa Bay, since the question was originally posed, is Stu Sternberg gets 50% of the development rights for that 80 acres of Tropicana Field, and anyone who lives in the area especially knows that that's worth several $1 billion. That entire 80 acres where the Trop currently exists. The mayor of St. Pete's also put the Albert Whitted Airport down on the waterfront back on the table as far as a possible site for a waterfront stadium. That happens to be right next to the Dolly Museum and just across the street from that new $100 million pier. The aesthetics work. It would be nice to have a field down there. I'm tired of hearing people in Hillsborough County say, well, we hate to travel to Tampa. You come over to the beaches, enjoy yourself. I'll go over when I need to see the Bucks and the Lightning, but enjoy Pinellas County when to see the Rays play. But at the end of the day, they've got to get a stadium situation done here. The St. Petersburg has the advantage because of that 80 acres of development rights that Sternberg gets if the team is here in 2027. But, the city and Sternberg really have to start getting to the table and working this thing out, because if the stadium's what they want to get, then they're going to have to get this thing done quick.
Yeah, one other quick thing. Michael wanted to know about the attendance. The attendance at Marlins games are less than the Rays. The Rays outdraw the Marlins.
The Rays drew 761,072 last year, which was 14th in the AL. The Marlins drew 642,617, which was dead last in the National League.
Yeah.
Either way, nobody really turning out to watch either of those teams, which is weird because, like Ray said, Tampa Bay won 100 games. I can see Miami, nobody watching them because A, you're in Miami, and B, the Marlins were terrible. But still,
I'll
the
tell
numbers
you
aren't correct by quite a large margin.
The Miami soccer team draws more than the Marlins do. So there gives you.
I tell you guys what, though, the Rays have one of the top 5 television markets in the entire Major League Baseball. They get a lot of revenue generated, but unlike the Yankees with the YES Network and other teams that have their own markets, the Sternberg and the Rays, they're on down here on another station, Valley Sports, and they used to be on Sunshine, Florida. I've talked that one of the big issues with building a downtown stadium in St. Petersburg is they'd have to build it on a smaller footprint because of the location and because of everything that's blowing up down there. And believe me, guys, it is blowing. Chris and Jim, next time you guys are in town, we'll go down to the steakhouse down there. I'll show you guys what's happening down here now. Just because of the cost per foot and cost per property. Talk about building a smaller stadium, and everybody always poses out there, well, you guys won't be able to host an all-star game. I don't care about an all-star game. Give me a 20,000-seat Tony Stadium with great sight lines. Continue to put it on television. Let Sternberg run his network. Charge me $100 a month pay-per-view so I can catch a game at 4 o'clock. Problem is in Tampa Bay and the Bay Area, because it's a beach community, get to the months of July and August, it's really, really hot, and people get home from work, and we don't, say they may not drag a family of 5 out to the game and drop 2 bills, but at the same time, they'll stay home and watch it on television. But when you build that stadium down there and you get rid of this, away from this whole thing where it's a big concrete, Tropicana Field's been cursed with that moniker since it was, Jim, back in the day, it was the world's largest indoor flea market, the big white elephant there. You give me a Tony down front stadium, waterfront stadium with the walk-up crowds and all the young people and having a good time down there. Now you start to generate a reason to want to go there. Now there's reasons to go. You got, eye candy. There's stuff going on there, and you start building that attendance. It's always been ironic that we've got one of the top 5 teams in the American League the last 5 years, 10 years, and yet we're still continuously low in the attendance numbers. So we got to work with that. Okay, well let's talk about the league. A lot of people are thinking that the team to beat in the AL East and possibly the team to beat in the entire American League would be the Blue Jays. Certainly they have done some stuff in the offseason. Frankly, Ray, you and I were talking about this, get Chris's input on it. I think you could throw a blanket over the Rays, the Jays, the Red Sox, and the Yankees and make a case for any one of those 4 for making the, win the division.
You want to take it first, Ray, or you want me to go?
No, Chris, I want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I like what the Blue Jays have done. They've got a very good young lineup. You got Bo Bichette. He had a good year last year. You got Vlad Guerrero, who finished second in the MVP voting. To Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez was good. If George Springer can stay healthy, that gives you 4 good power hitters in your lineup. And you got guys that can. Then they got Chapman from the A's. He's going to be a big thing. Barrios is going to be lead the rotation. You got Alec Manoah in there. It's a pretty good organization. I liked when they were playing in Buffalo. They did a lot of renovations to what's now got about 37 different names, but I'll just call it Pilot Field because that's what it was when it opened in 1988 when I went there for the first time. And, Boston, they made some moves. They got Trevor Story. They got Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, J.D. Martinez. The question is, can their pitching hold up? Because Chris Sale, of course, has had issues again, and he probably won't pitch until, I guess they're targeting late April, early May. He and Eovaldi will be in the front end of that rotation. The Yankees are the Yankees. I don't know how much we need to talk about them. Everybody knows that they like to spend money and go after guys. They got Josh Donaldson. They gave up on Gio Urshela, who I think was a good glue guy for the Yankees because he could play all over the field. And I guess, they got rid of Gary Sanchez, which I know Reichel was happy about because nobody wanted a catcher that hit 204. But the Yankees are the Yankees. Can they get by with Joey Gallo hitting $160 again? Probably not. But they've still got Garrett Cole. They hope to get something out of Severino, who hasn't pitched much at all the last couple of years. They hope Jameson Taillon can stay healthy. And like Ray said, Tampa Bay has been quietly a good team the last several years that nobody talks about. My concern with Tampa Bay is this: will Shane McClanahan take a step forward? Will this be the year Shane Baz does something at the major league level? And can they get enough production from some of these guys like Mike Zunino, who is the quintessential hit or miss prospect at the plate, behind the plate, because either he hits a home run or he's head back to the bench because he had all of 216 last year and whiffed in about 1/3 of his at bats. Does anybody expect anything out of guys like Yandy Diaz or Wendell? And of course,
Arena.
Yeah, and how does Wander Franco step forward after playing 70 games last year? I know a lot of people have him as a dark horse candidate for AL MVP, but again, he's only played 70 games. Let's pump the brakes on that until we see what he does when pitchers adjust to what he likes and what he doesn't.
Well, I'll tell you what, for me it's the Orioles, the East. I'm kidding. But, you talk about Guerrero, monster, flat out. Guerrero and the player that he is, every time he comes up to the plate, you start, if you're an opposing team covering the Rays like I do, obviously I am one, and I'm looking, you start hearing ghosts. But to me, you put a Guerrero up there and the beast that he is, but you put him against a switch-hitting Wander Franco and the phenomenal talent that this kid is, and I know it's been a short sample size, Chris, but I like Wander Franco in there. Shane Baz just had some little surgery, so he's not going to be in that lineup initially. But don't forget, guys, with that 99-day lockout, Major League Baseball is going to start this season and let teams have an expanded roster. That plays right into the Rays' hands. That lets Kevin Cash become Dr. Cash, and as he's working with that pitching staff, and we're going to be able to pull a pitcher every inning in a third. Now, since we're talking about that, we could probably wax poetic on the East all day, and Chris, you covered it so well. What are your feelings, Chris and Jim, as far as a team like the Rays that, other teams, when they pull the shift because no one knows how to bunt the ball anymore, and we might pull a pitcher or switch a pitcher every inning in a third, but if it keeps the other team from getting a rhythm going, is that ruining the experience of baseball, or should other teams just adapt and catch up with that?
To me, the thing that's going to ruin baseball is that they put the DH in the National League because I hate it.
Yes.
I've never been a fan of the DH. I don't like it in the American League. I don't like that they're going to bring it over and ruin the National League because, I like the strategy that not having a DH has brought because, if you get in the 5th or 6th inning and it's a 1 or a 2-run game and you've got guys on base, you have to decide if you're going to let your starter stay out there or if you're going to take him out of the game. Now you don't have that. Now you just have some, guy who looks like he should be playing beer league softball, like Nelson Cruz, come up and bat 3 or 4 times a game and then go back and sit on the bench. I don't think that, the shift or anything like that is bad. I don't think that being able to change your pitchers all the time is bad. I just wish that they would have left the DH alone. I don't have a problem with the way the Rays do things. It's it's proven to be effective. I mean, everybody panned them when they did the opener thing, especially with Ryan Stanek, who, of course, is no longer there. But, everybody panned them when they did that, but it seemed to be an effective thing, and then other teams were trying it. So it's just a matter of, seeing if something pans out, and then if so, everybody jumps on it. If it doesn't, then people just laugh at you and say that,
it's a copycat.
You're an idiot. And you got Nelson Muntz from The Simpsons going, ha ha!
It's a copycat league. So, I mean, you look at it and you say, okay, there's 7 former Tampa Bay Rays front office men running baseball teams now. And so if they're not doing something wrong, that's you're seeing a lot of the Rays' influence. The old in football, you look at the coaches, right? The Dungy tree and all the different coaches, Belichick, different situations. In the Rays situations, front office. How can I run a front office efficiently like that? But
Stu Sternberg made all of his money on Wall Street. He's an investor. He buys low, sells high, which is exactly the way this run. Because the first thing we wanted to compare him to Billy Beane and the Rays and the A's and Moneyball. I like that. I like those analogies with the symmetry, but I also like the fact that Stu Sternberg, like I said, buy low, sell high. The Rays do that, and they're all about, and especially as analytics have become such a strong part of all sports, not just Major League Baseball. And like you said, Jim, so many other teams now are buying into that. Which, again, if you flipped it, since you mentioned football, it always makes me wonder why, when the Buccaneers have had a championship season and they make it deep into the playoffs last year, why teams pass over a Byron Leftwich or a Todd Bowles for a head coaching position when those guys are in there seeing how the sausage is made and they understand what it takes to be a championship team. But then you have teams, they go out and they hire these coaches from college or retreads or whatever. So it's just one of those things where I just thought I'd throw it in there. Sorry.
Michael asks, will baseball ever have a salary cap or a cap ceiling like the NHL? The answer is no. They basically have what they call a luxury tax, which you're allowed to go up to. They've extended it a bit, but no, baseball does not have any interest at all in salary caps, and they haven't shown any interest in it. We talked about the American League. Let's talk a little bit about the National League now. The Braves, to me, are still, I don't care what the Mets do. The Braves still, to me, are the team to beat in the East. The Dodgers are the team to beat out West. And in the Central, flip a coin between the Brewers and the Cardinals. But
nobody ever puts the Cardinals on a coin.
True.
If there's one team that I despise more than I despise Atlanta because I live down here and I never liked the Braves even when they were on TBS. It's the Cardinals. Everybody knows that any self-respecting Cubs fan with any sense of dignity despises the Cardinals. I don't care how good St. Louis plays. I don't want to hear about how they have they're the second most World Series trophies in the National League or anything else. The bottom line is nobody likes the Cardinals if you're a Cubs fan. And it's probably just as similar as, when you're a Bucks fan, you don't like the Saints or you don't like the Falcons or whatever.
Nasty words. Hey, Chris, I tell you what, I was so fortunate, and Jimmy, you backed me up on this growing up here. My grandparents living on Rainton Beach back in the early 80s. The beaches were the first places to have cables. We had the basic cable there at my grandfather's house, and I was staying there, and every day after school I got home, and it was WGN and the Cubs, WOR and the Mets, and then WTBS and the Braves. I grew up with that, with the loving, like you said, Chris, loving the planning that goes into. Do you pull a pitcher now? Do you stay with the John Smoltz for another half an inning? And one of the things that I don't like about that is that they're trying to make consistency across the league, right? Baseball's trying a lot of stuff with talking about bigger bases, talking about using that device to send in the signals so teams can't steal them, talking about doing away with pitch clock for the pitchers to try to speed the game up. Baseball's finally starting to get out of their own way and trying some of these things, and I think that we're walking a fine line here because I agree you don't want to do too much as a national pastime. There's a romanticism to baseball and the history history and going back to when it was Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio and Ty Cobb and the way they did things, going back to shoeless Joe Jackson and 1919 Black Sox. I'm kidding. But the fact of the matter is that in this day and age where most people are getting their information, their news in 140 characters on a break on Twitter, baseball's finally realizing maybe if we can experiment with some of these things and shake it up a little bit, because people say, well, baseball's great when you get to the playoffs. No, I pose baseball's great all season, but you got to have a reason to be invested in it. And to get invested in it, we have to pull them in. And I think that that's some of the things baseball's starting to do with some of these rule changes, trying to bring them in here and make them realize that this product's good all 162 games. You just don't wait to the playoffs. Get invested earlier, and then we'll see returns at the gates.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is allow people to enjoy something, okay? I don't have any trouble if, Bryce Harper hits a home run and tosses the bat or stands there and watches it. I really don't. Because if you look at the pitcher, when, relief pitcher comes in the game or starting pitcher gets out of trouble, what's the first thing they do? They slam their fist in the glove and they're psyched and they're ready to go. Enjoy the game, all right? Celebrate the game. You hit a home run, that's on the pitcher, okay? Don't, I get tired of that. That and the stupid unwritten rules of baseball. I'm a baseball fan, but stop with this unwritten rule crap. And Tim Earl and I are going to have a long season because the Braves are not a third-place team to me. We'll see. We'll see.
Don't forget the only rule of Fight Club is there's no Fight Club.
That's right.
Just kidding.
There you go. Well, let's see. So in the National League, we like who?
Chris?
Well, I think you have to lean towards the Dodgers. They don't really have any holes in their lineup as long as, they can keep their pitchers healthy. Urias, who won 20 last year, Buehler. Anybody?
Buehler.
Clayton Kershaw, he doesn't have to be relied on as being the guy to do everything this year. He can probably slot down as a number 2 or 3 starter this year, which is a boost for him because he doesn't have to worry about being the ace of that rotation at this point. They got Freddie Freeman plug in to that lineup, so now, you've got Turner, and you've got Muncy, and you've got Freeman, and you've got Mookie Betts, and you've got Cody Bellinger. They traded Pollock to get a closer in Kimbrel. Justin Turner's like 403 years old, but he's still out there playing. Chris Taylor, you got a lot of guys out there that you can mix. Dave Roberts can mix and match however he wants in the lineup, and then you've still got a pretty good pitching staff, especially if we ever figure out what they're going to do with Trevor Bauer and his situation, which dragged on incessantly all year, or just the whole second half, and then into the off season, and I think it's still going on now, even though they haven't done anything with it.
You know what? Trevor Bauer and Deshaun Watson should get a new sitcom called Bosom Buddies. Have them move out to a little condo in California and figure things out from there, because that story continues to drag on. But, Chris, the thing is, last season, remember going into the postseason last year, it was the Dodgers Dodgers win 106 games, the Giants win 107. The Braves finished with 88 games, but they got hot, like you and I were talking earlier, Jim. They got hot at the right time of the year, but it was like everybody was already they were like, it's a shame that the Giants and the Dodgers will play each other in the National League Championship, because that's probably better than any American League National League. And, of course, the Braves ended up winning it all. Good for them. But I'd like to see the Padres. I'd like to see Tatis have a great year. I'd like to see the Milwaukee Brewers finally hang in there. I'd like to see the Cubs come back and surprise everybody. To me, when Jim Madden led the Cubs and they won this series and got off the schneid there a few years back, it was one of the best stories in baseball, and that's from a Rays fan, which they're over-accomplishing every year. So as far as the National League goes, I get it. The Padres or the Dodgers have a salary cap. What's their salary? About $750 million. They just keep signing players.
The Padres have $500 million in their third base and shortstop.
Just in the infield. I know.
And of course, you have to remember Tatis is going to be out for a couple of months after he had a wrist surgery, so that's going to put a lot of pressure on some of the Manny Machado's going to have to step up. Hosmer is going to have to prove that he's worth the money that they paid him, because he hasn't been all that great. Same with Will Myers. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, the Padres the Padres have a ton of quality pitching. The question is, will they have the offensive weapons to keep them out of having to win games 2-1 and 3-2?
Yes. Chris, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to ask.
No.
And I have to get out of here, guys. I apologize, but one last question, and I'll let you finish it, Jim. But the White Sox. Everybody last year was the White Sox. I got a neighbor. He's a huge White Sox fan, and he's always the White Sox. And you know what they do? They seem to put a team together. And La Russa, right? The manager there, he's like 102 years old, but he's still kicking those boots. But do the White Sox, are they going to be up in there again this year? Are they going to be in the mix there, making a case at the end of the season, or was that more last year, not to this year that you see?
I think the AL Central is still a bad division. The White Sox are still the top team in that division. I mean, the Tigers might improve. The Twins have a chance of improving. Well, the Twins probably won't be last. Kansas City is got a young team. They'll improve as well. And Cleveland is terrible. So, unfortunately, the White Sox will probably still win that division. I mean, Luis Robert, Moncada, and Tim Anderson, and Jose Abreu's back again. And Eloy Jimenez will hopefully stay healthy for them. The one issue that I see with them is in their rotation. Lance Lynn had a issue with his knee. Rodon went to San Francisco. So you've got Giolito, Dylan Cease, and the decomposing corpse of what was Dallas Keuchel, who posted an ERA over 5 last year. Then you got Reynaldo Lopez, and it's just their pitching is more questionable than their lineup for sure. If their pitching can hold up, they should win that division, I think, fairly easily. The rest of the Central has work to do. I mean, like we said, Detroit made some big moves. They got some names now, adding Meadows and getting Javier Baez via free agency, and Eduardo Rodriguez to put near the front of that rotation is going to be an improvement. The Twins got Sonny Gray. They made some other moves. They got Urshela from the Yankees in the trade that sent Donaldson out of town. They've got Correa now for who knows how long, since he's got 2 player options after the 1 year that he signed for. And like we said, Cleveland has pitching. They don't have a lineup. Kansas City is probably a year, I would say, a year or 2 away at this point.
I'm just going to, I think that obviously Houston's going to be good, and anybody in the East, sans Baltimore, is going to be good. But the team to keep an eye on, for me, the sleeper team here, is Joe Madden and a healthy Angels team. You got Mike
there's
Trout.
a key word you touched on there. Healthy.
Yeah, no. Look, I get it. That could be said for anybody, any team. But if the Angels can stay healthy, and if the Angels can get some decent, consistent pitching, which they should be able to do, they just might be a surprise in the American League. That's all I'm saying. Keep an eye on the Angels.
I'll tell you what, for me, again, the Rays were in that Freeman sweepstakes for 5 minutes for the Dodgers locking down. We still got G-Man Choi over there. Wander Franco in a full season. Continuing Kevin Kiermaier in the outfield. This pitching staff were a little bit on the getting it through the early part. But again, like I said, with those expanded rosters, it's going to play right into the Rays' hands. They're going to be able to get some things done. It's always a question of the Rays, kind of like you were saying with the Padres, Chris. The Rays, will they produce enough runs? But I look at this with the Yandy Diaz and a Rosarina and a Wander Franco and some of the things they're putting together, and some of the guys we have down at AAA and at Durham. I really think that this team, you lock it down with the deep pitching rotation we have going into the bullpen, and you get Baz back. And Baz, like you said, it's going to be a big year for him. We're going to see if he's going to really show up and put up. And Yarborough's got up to 97 degrees in the speed department. So this pitching staff, if they continue to improve like they seem to do every year, the big question is, do they win another 100? 100 wins is a lot to ask for a team that's among the lowest in the league in payroll, but like they're setting the over-under now on the Rays at 90.5 games, and I would bet if that were the line right there, I would definitely consider betting the over on that if I'm going to get some good cheese for that.
Here's the thing. Here's the quick thing on that one, though, Ray. If you've got the Jays, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Rays all in the same division, there's not going to be one of those teams win 100. They play each other too much.
The Jays will make that hard for Jim. You're right. With an improved Blue Jays team, suddenly now they're because it seemed like the Jays were winning their fair share against the Rays last season. Kevin Cash is still going to pitch this rotation around the Yankees, so that murderer's row they try to put out on the field every year for that hitting, we're going to play around them. The Red Sox, I think that they're a year or two removed from trying to figure out what the heck's going on there. And then the Orioles are everybody's American League East pincushion. So. Is it a tall ask the Rays to get up again in 90 wins, especially with an improving Blue Jays team? And the Yankees kind of starting to seem like they're going to figure it out, trying to get the Aaron Judge arbitration done and trying to get back. The Yankees are always a dangerous team, but for some reason, especially with the way Kevin Cash utilizes this pitching staff, we have the Yankees number. I just don't see that changing in 2022, or at least I haven't seen anything to make me feel that's changing as of yet.
Well, Ray, we appreciate it, buddy. We know you got to go.
I'm sorry for rambling, guys. It's great to talk to you. I haven't seen you in a while. It's always fun.
You take care of yourself, and we'll be looking for your stories out there, and you're covering the season, and it all starts on Friday.
And the latest Cup of Ray.
That's right.
And a Cup of Ray. Yeah, Cup of Ray coming to you. Sometimes it's a shot. Sometimes it's a shot of Ray. That's the After Dark. Keep it straight. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Jim, for having you guys. Have
all
a great
right.
day.
Take care, buddy.
You too, Ray.
Bye-bye.
Take care, brothers.
Ray Kennedy. You can read his articles on Sports Talk Florida. You can also read him in the Bucks Report, and he's all over the place. So Ray Kennedy, who covers the American League and the Tampa Bay Rays. Thanks him for joining us today. And now, let's talk a little bit of hockey.
Yeah, it's weird that we don't have college basketball to talk about now, so we'll just go to hockey.
No, baseball's starting on Thursday.
Yep, that's true. And I know Tim's going to say, Sabres for the Cup, but, I took the Sabres over the weekend, and that was my one mistake for the week because they lost to the Panthers, ending their 7-game point streak. Now they have to face a Carolina team that is 45-16-8, 20-10-4 on the road. And they're trying to hold off both the Rangers and the Penguins for the top spot in that crowded Metropolitan Division race. Hurricanes have 98 points. I think the Rangers have 94, and the Penguins have 92. I think are the numbers. Let me double check because God knows that these things change. Nope, 98, 94, 92. Okay. Look at that. They didn't change. Frederik Andersen, 33-11-3 with a 203 goals against, a 928 save percentage, and 4 shutouts. The net for Carolina tonight against Craig Anderson, 13-9-2 with a 306 goals against, and a 901 save percentage. Tim says that he hopes the Canes win tonight because he doesn't want to piss off Canes team when he goes to the game on Thursday. So there you go, Tim. Automatically rooting against Buffalo tonight at home because he doesn't want to deal with an angry team when they play on Thursday. These same two teams will be in action at the PNC Arena in Raleigh. So, as Billy Red Lyons used to say on old Maple Leaf Wrestling, don't you dare miss it. Good seats probably still available because, nobody wants to watch Buffalo. Hurricanes 8th in goals for at 332, first in goals against at 235, Buffalo 25th in goals for at 271, 26th in goals against at 3.5. Hurricanes 5-0 in their last 5 on 2 days of rest. They're 36-15 in their last 51 when their opponent gives up 5 goals or more in their last game. Like we said, the Sabres fell 5-3 to Florida at home on Sunday afternoon. Sabres 26-67 in their last 93 against Metropolitan Division opponents. They're 15-47 in their last 62. They got 1 day of rest. And those last 2 numbers are, you can't get much more cut and dry than that. The Hurricanes have won the last 11 meetings between these teams, and that includes the last 5 meetings at the KeyBank Center. Look for Carolina to keep their momentum going and make it 6 straight in Buffalo and 12 in a row overall in this series. As Anderson slams the door, he has plenty of familiarity with the Sabres when he's from the last 5 years spent in Toronto. So look for Carolina to come up with a win and reach the 100-point mark in the standings on the season with a victory here.
And shuffling off to Buffalo. The Rangers and the Devils in a cross-the-river rivalry here.
Yeah, these teams met a couple weeks ago, and we thought that the Rangers were going to win, and they were up after the first period, and then got blown out in the second and lost 7-4. The Rangers 44-20-6. They're 22-13-2 on the road. The Devils 24-39-6 on the season. They're going to the golf course soon enough. It'll be Igor Shesterkin, 32-10-4 with a 214 goals against, a 933 save percentage, and 3 shutouts for the Rangers. Nico Dawes, 8-10 with 333 goals against and an 892 save percentage in net for New Jersey. The Rangers, 18th in the league in goals for, just at 3 per game. But they're third in the league in goals against, allowing just 2.6. Meanwhile, the Devils, one slot higher than the Rangers offensively at 3.04, but they're fourth worst in the league when it comes to watching the red light go on behind their goaltender, giving up 3.68 goals a night. The Rangers 5-1 in their last 6 on the road. They're 42-16 in their last 58 as a favorite. The Devils 13-39 in their last 52 games as an underdog. They're 1-4 in their last 5 games against the Metropolitan Division, and they're 1-9 in the third game of their last 10 3-game and 4-night situations. The Rangers looking to put the 4-3 shootout loss to the Flyers at home over the weekend behind them as they play tonight. The Rangers, of course, 8-1 in the last 9 meetings between these teams, and they've won 5 of the last 6 in New Jersey. Apparently, New Jersey is just the backyard of Manhattan as far as the Rangers are concerned. For them to go on the road and beat up on the Devils as the Devils get one game closer to cleaning out their lockers.
To getting it done. Quick note here, folks, real quick, before we move on to the National Basketball Association. Caesar Sportsbook has an $1,100 first bet insurance. Place a first-time wager of up to $1,100. Get it back in the form of a free bet if you lose, okay? So, that's a good deal, but you have to use our promo code. And there it is. All of it's in the show box below. Remember, you have to be 21 years of age. And always, always please, wager wisely. Okay, so let's go to the hardwood, where we got some teams that are battling it out for playoff spots.
Yeah, we're going to start in the Southeast Division, the Miami Heat. All of a sudden, they found themselves after we talked about how bad they were a couple weeks ago. Now, all of a sudden, they've been winning games. They're favored by 5.5 over the Charlotte Hornets. This game coming in from the FTX Arena, I think is what they call it now. Of course, in Miami. The Heat, 18th in scoring offense at 109.5. They're 13th in field goal percentage at 46.5. And they're first in three-point shooting. Charlotte, 26th in scoring defense, giving up 114.8 a game. They're 19th field goal percentage defense. They're 21st in three-point defense. The Hornets, 5th in scoring offense, but they give up as many points as they score, so that's not necessarily a good statistic. Miami 3rd in scoring defense at 105.2. 4th in field goal percentage defense at 44.5%. 3rd in three-point defense at 33.9%. The Heat 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 overall. 7-2 in their last 9 after an ATS win. Charlotte 18-2 in their last 28 against teams with a winning percentage above 600. They're 1-6-1 in the last 8 on Tuesday, and they are 0-3-1 in the last 4 meetings with the Heat. Just taking a quick look at the old injury report here, because God knows there's long enough ones for some of these teams. The Heat have a whole bunch of guys that are questionable. Dwayne Dedmon, Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin, Markieff Morris, PJ Tucker, and Gabe Vincent. Charlotte apparently decided not to submit an injury report because they don't have one on here. So I'm guessing the hope is Gordon Hayward will be back for them. I know James Boonite has been dealing with that neck injury. Last I knew, he was not cleared to play, but that could change. Either way, Charlotte has had struggles on the defensive end of the floor this season. Miami, like I said, has suddenly found themselves after that horrible stretch where they were getting beat by everybody, to the point where I took the Sacramento Kings against them last week and then watched them finally, turn things around and win by 23 points. Since then, they beat Boston, Chicago, and Toronto, those last 3 all coming on the road. Now they get to come back home. I think the Heat and Eric Spoelstra pick up their 28th home win of the year and their 52nd win at home, or 52nd win overall, as they prevail over a game Charlotte team that is going to be in the play-in tournament. Who they'll play, we'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, and Tim thinks that the Heat do not want the number one seed. They may get it just because there are people below them aren't playing well. They did play a good game the other night in Toronto, and Michaels loves Toronto -4 against Atlanta on the road. Because
I like Toronto over Atlanta. I think that they should get the advantage over the Hawks. I know the Hawks have won 5 straight, but like Michael said, they're going on the road. They're just 15-23 away from home this season. And the Raptors need this win to, hopefully if they win and Chicago loses, then they would bump up to the 5 spot.
Yeah.
They're not going to finish much higher than 5, but 5 is better than 6 when you get right down to it. As for the Heat, they're 2 games ahead with 3 games to go. There's really not a whole lot of wiggle room that they can get to where they would fall out of the 1 seed at this point. When you get right down to it, the Celtics are 49-30, and then the Bucks and 76ers are both 48-30. So you figure the most of the 3 teams can come up with is 52 wins. Miami, let me see who they have left after tonight. Because they've got Charlotte at home, then they've got Atlanta at home, and they close against Orlando. I think the Heat might end up backing into the 1 seed, whether they like it or not.
Well, we wish you luck there, Tim, with the Raptors on the winning East.
Wow, plus 4,000.
Yeah, that's quite.
I didn't realize I was that far down the
Yeah.
line.
Let's see. We got. Dun, 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 dun. All right, we got 2 for the money coming up.
We've only done 1 NBA game.
Oh, wait a minute. There's more.
That's right. It's made the Lakers time.
Right. No wonder I forgot it. The Lakers are playing. Okay.
Yeah, we need some music for that or something.
Whoa, 750. Yeesh.
Yeah, and that number's probably going to go up from here because the Lakers have officially ruled out LeBron James for tonight. This came in just minutes ago. LeBron is out with that ankle injury. Of course, Anthony Davis is going to be a game-time decision as he battles back with that foot injury. Also missing for the Lakers, Kendrick Nunn, but nobody cares because he hasn't played all season. Meanwhile, for the Suns, the only names on the injury report, Frank Kaminsky and Dario Saric. I think the Suns, they're pissed off. They lost 2 in a row. They got beat by Memphis last week. Then they got whipped by Oklahoma City, of all teams. How do you lose to Oklahoma City by 20-some points?
Practice.
Well, you should at least practice to win, not practice to get beat by 21 points by a team with no players. The Suns 4th in the league in scoring offense at 114.9 and 48.7% from the field, puts them 1st in the league in that category. They're 6th in 3-point shooting. Michael says we're right. The line is now bumped up to Phoenix by 13 without LeBron. The Lakers 27th in scoring defense at 114.8. They're 22nd in field goal percentage defense at 46.9. They're 17th in 3-point shooting. The Lakers are 12th in scoring offense, but it doesn't matter because without LeBron, you'll be reduced to watching a gimpy Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony jacking up shots from wherever you want. Right down to it, it's going to be a rough contest for the Lakers, who are basically, it looks like they're basically waving the white flag at this point. You look, they trail the Spurs by 2 games with 4 games to play. Unfortunately, even if the Lakers were to match the Spurs, they would still lose due to better conference record from San Antonio. So basically, the Lakers have to go 4-0, and the Spurs have to go 1-3, or the Lakers would have to go 3-1, and the Spurs would have to go 0-4 down the stretch for the Lakers to get into the postseason. Jim Grumbling's really coming out now, getting a lot louder that Frank Vogel will be fired at the end of the season. I don't think this is Vogel's fault. Vogel did not put this team together.
Right.
I know that injuries were an issue, but the problem is when you pay Davis and James and Westbrook as much money as you paid them and leaving you with about 3 cents to sign the rest of your roster, And it's basically a no-win situation because whoever you put in to coach this team next year is going to inherit the same dumpster fire rotation that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So if the team sucks, then the coach is going to get the grief. If the Lakers somehow magically win a bunch of games and make the playoffs, what are they going to get the credit to? It's not going to be to the coach.
Nope.
Credit LeBron James.
What do you think of the Cavs in the first half, Chris?
I think the Cavs are probably going to beat Orlando anyway.
Yeah.
I know that Cleveland is been banged up. They're shorthanded. They did cover against Philadelphia over the weekend. Let me just take a quick look and see if we got anybody noteworthy on the injury report for that one.
And Kevin wants to know, which would you play? Which play do you like best? Philadelphia, Houston, Milwaukee, Utah, NHL, Pittsburgh.
I'm not touching Houston. I don't care how many points they get.
Okay.
Houston is atrocious. If you look at the injury report, not only are they atrocious, their best players are missing. Just taking a look for that real quick. Eric Gordon's not going to play. Schroeder's not going to play. Christian Wood's not going to play. So you've got Kevin Porter Jr. And a bunch of fans. I would rather take Vernon Maxwell at whatever age he is now and put him on the floor over the guys that the Rockets are going to have suit up. I would not touch that game. I don't care if they're getting 17 points. I don't care if they're getting 50 points. I don't care if they're getting 300 points. The Rockets play that badly defensively, they could probably still lose. Philadelphia over Indiana. I like that one a little bit better. Indiana's basically nailed it in. They have no players to speak of other than Halliburton and Hield, which is that's the makings of a good backcourt. Don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, they don't have any other players to support them. Let's see, Milwaukee and the Bulls. Well, fun stat about this: Chicago since January 1st against the top 8 teams in the league is 0-15. They haven't covered in their last 8, I think, in those situations. So if I was going to lean on any of those, I'd probably lean on Milwaukee minus 5.5 over any of the others, just because Utah, you don't know if they're going to end up under or not. I know Memphis has a bunch of guys that missed the last couple games that could play again tonight. I'm just looking here. Memphis. Okay, where'd they go?
Meanwhile, while Chris is looking...
Somebody answer injury report. There you go. Dylan Brooks is doubtful. John Moran is out. Everybody else, Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson, all those guys from Memphis went back. So the way Utah struggled defensively of late, I can see that one going over the number, so I wouldn't lean towards the under. Out of that group, I would stick with Milwaukee minus 5.5.
So, look, we're giving you a free betting guide. It's over 100 pages long, and it's got all kinds of great stuff. Chris has written for it. Future odds, predictions, World Series, ALNL Pennant, NL MVP, ALNL Cy Young, something that Chris knows a little bit about, AL and NL Rookie of the Year, and much, much, much more. You get the entire preview, which is an in-depth analysis of each team, players, to inform you on your betting strategy for the year. You got 5 advanced betting strategies that you need to know, including umpires, bullpens, line value, advanced stats, weather, etc. And it is free. All you got to do is go down to show box below, like we told you before, and sign up. And you'll get your free copy sent directly to your email box, probably, I believe, tomorrow morning. Right, Chris?
That's what I understand. Yeah, it's supposed to be tomorrow.
So tomorrow, you wake up and you get your baseball information. At the worst, you get it on Thursday. So that's not a bad deal.
Well, James said he just started reading it, so I don't know if it actually went out already or not.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it did. Maybe some people...
and Nathan, yeah, I would take Cleveland minus 4.5 in the first half against Orlando.
You'd be in good shape.
That's a pretty safe bet.
All right, let's go 2 for the money, my friend. We got 2 coming up here.
All right.
And 2 for the money.
We talked about Carolina over Buffalo. Don't need to talk about that any further than that. Edmonton over San Jose. The Oilers are playing good hockey all of a sudden. San Jose pretty much mailed it in with the way they tanked last week against Arizona and then Colorado and pretty much everybody else. Mike Smith's supposed to start against James Reimer and then the Oilers playing good hockey. They've won 4 straight, 5 of 6, 7 of 10. San Jose has lost 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5. I just think that the Oilers are the better play here. Miami over Charlotte, we talked about, and Philadelphia over Indiana. Hield and Halliburton would have to score about 70 for Indiana to hang in this game. It's not impossible, but I think Joel Embiid is going to have a big day eating against the lack of Indiana's front court, and that should help the 76ers in that victory.
Let's move on to 4 for the show.
All right, the Timberwolves over everybody's favorite team, the Wiz.
Yep.
We didn't say anything else. The Wiz are going nowhere. Minnesota's going to be in the playoffs for the the first or second, the second time I think in the last decade or a couple decades. It's been a rough run for Minnesota. Let's see, their 45 wins this season are actually their most since they won 47, 2017, 18. That's the only time they had made the playoffs, going all the way back to 2003-04 when Flip Saunders was coaching.
That's been a minute.
So this 45 wins also the second most that Minnesota's had since that 03-04 season. And they've got a chance to, equal or surpass the 47 wins they had in 2017-18. They should get an easy win tonight over Washington, who's done for the year at this point. We talked about Phoenix to the Lakers. That number just keeps moving. It's getting worse before it gets better. But hey, when you're the Lakers and you're terrible, why not? The Rangers over the Devils come out, and like the Bruins, they're playing the second game of back-to-back. I never put on Brad Marchand for that. He put on Andrew Peak yesterday into the boards, but Peak was actually facing the right way. So, Marchand hit him in the back like he usually does. So, kudos to me. He's actually learned from those 17 suspensions he's taken. But either way, I think the Bruins are still better. They'll get the upper hand on the Red Wings, much to the chagrin of Detroit Lightning.
Yeah. So, let's go to the big show.
Yeah, some of the marquee matchups we got here. Look at that. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Portland Trail Blazers. These teams actually had an entertaining game last week. Hopefully you missed it because it wouldn't have been worth watching. But Oklahoma City won. Portland, just in case you were wondering who was on the injury report, everybody. Oklahoma City does not have Bazzi, Dort, Favors, Giddey, Gilgeous Alexander, Jerome, Mann, Muscala, or Kendrick Williams. Trailblazers won't have Bledsoe, Josh Hart, Joe Ingles, Damian Lillard, Nasir Little, Yusuf Nurkic, Jeffrey Simons, Trendon Watford, or Justice Winslow. So it's free uniform night.
Right.
At the Paycom Center. So if you suit up, make sure you get a picture so we can talk about it.
Right, the Zamboni.
The Nuggets favored by 9 over San Antonio. The Nuggets trying to hold on to the Northwest Division lead now that they picked up the other night. Quick look there for the injury report. I believe DeJounte Murray is out for San Antonio. He's still dealing with an illness. I know he posted on Twitter that he had lost 7 or 8 pounds because of it. And he was mad that, it can't happen now. Jock Landale, Doug McDermott, Murray, TJ Stewart, and Robert Woodard II are all out for San Antonio. Zlatko Kankar, Jamal Murray, Zeke Naji, and Michael Porter Jr. out for the Nuggets. Jeff Green is questionable. Doesn't matter if he plays or not. The Pelicans over the Kings. The Pelicans with a win will clinch a play-in tournament berth. So good for them. Sacramento going nowhere fast. They won't make the playoffs again. Injury report there. Terrence Davis, De'Aaron Fox, Richaun Holmes, Domantas Sabonis all out for the Kings. Jonas Valanciunas is questionable for the Pelicans, so watch out for that. He's got a sore ankle. Cleveland over Orlando. The less we have to talk about Orlando, the better. Brooklyn and the Nets or the Rockets. I just think that this is going to be a game where Houston gets trucked. Basically, they're going nowhere. They have nothing to play for. But ping pong ball, so losing is in their best interest. On the ice, I'm going to take the Stars over the Islanders. The Stars play well at home. The Islanders have won 4 in a row, but there's always that ticking time bomb that's known as Semyon Varlamov in net. He's due for a regression. I'm going to take the Preds at home over the Wild. The Preds trying to catch Minnesota for second in the Central Division. They're also trying to hold off the Blues and everybody else to get in that mix there. Ottawa over Montreal. I just can't trust Canadians. They're in last place for a reason. Ottawa swept Detroit in a 2-game set over the weekend. Good for them. And Sogard got a win in his NHL debut. We talked about him last week.
Yeah.
The 6'7" goaltender turned in a good showing. I go with the Penguins. Yeah, the Penguins over the Avs.
And the Flyers over the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, the Blue Jackets playing the second game of a back-to-back here. You have to get right down to it. The Penguins, they lost 3-2 the other night to Colorado in Denver. Now they're back at the Glass House. Tristan Jerry should get the start against Darcy Kemper. Philadelphia and Columbus, it's just a battle of attrition. Nobody cares about either one of these teams. Philadelphia did get a win the other day over the Rangers. I think we said Columbus fell in overtime to the Bruins last night. Played the second game of a back-to-back. It's hard to have a ton of faith in a Blue Jackets team that is pretty much done for the year. And we get Philadelphia with a slight nod there.
Kevin is asking about 1, 2, 3-leg parlays. Anything that you look at and say this might be a good thing to do?
Well, I mean, that's what we put those up for.
Right.
Like I said, I like if you go with the twos that Miami and Philadelphia are good in the NBA, Carolina and Edmonton are good in the NHL. You can mix and match those if you wanted to. I could throw the Rangers in there over the Devils or Minnesota over Washington. Phoenix, the way that line's moving, it's probably going to get to the point
real
where
ugly.
Yeah, because like Michael said, it was already up to 13 before. I'll just take a quick look and see if it shifted again, because odds are it probably did. Let's see. It's at 13.5 in most sports books.
Hey, Quentin, if you could send us a copy of that winning ticket that you have to our social media account, and we'll see if we can find you some sort of prize. So send us a copy.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those still in my inbox. I got to get them over to you.
Oh, okay.
That Sean and those guys sent the other day.
Okay.
Nathan sent one, I think, too.
Okay.
But,
so if you got pictures of your winning tickets, then we might have some merch for you. Lovely to see it. So, all right. Well, we've had some fun today, boys and girls. Tomorrow will be the eve of the starting, of the just before baseball season's about to do it. Quentin, what you do is you take a picture of your winning ticket with the parlays on it, and you send it to either betting royalty, as you can see Chris's handle there, or you can take the picture and send it to my Twitter address, and bingo, we'll have it. Okay, so that's all you got to do. It's relatively simple. So do that, and we'll be good. Okay, all right, buddies. All right, so Chris, any final thoughts before we move on down the road? Other than the fact that Ray showed up on time.
Just a couple quick things. St. Peter's was the Cinderella story in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the clock hit midnight, and now here's the fallout. Doug Eater, Daryl Banks III, and Matthew Lee all entered the transfer portal this morning.
Oof.
So they won't be there next year. Of course, Shaheen Holloway left St. Peter's to take the job at Seton Hall.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be interested to see how many of those guys follow him there. And finally, kudos to Austin Matthews in the Leafs last night. He had a hat trick against Vasilevsky and the Lightning as Toronto won 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
Gives him 54 goals on the season. He tied the Maple Leafs franchise record for goals in a year, previously set by Rick Vive So he'll be going. His next goal will end up breaking the franchise record, which is something to say considering that franchise has been around for
a while. Yeah,
a couple minutes.
Yeah. Hey, Quentin, Chris's Twitter handle is @bettingroyalty. That's @bettingroyalty. And mine is right there in front. It's JW Media DC. But if you want to shoot it to Chris at Betting Royalty, that's where you go with the Twitter, okay? All right. Well, that seems to be the way to go, ladies and gentlemen. We've had a fun time. Special thanks, as I said before, to Ray. We kid him. We kid him because we love. He's a good guy, and he'll be popping back from time to time. We're going to have Steve Kinsella in here. We're going to have Pete Medhurst. We're going to have a lot of folks talking about baseball this week, and Sean Miller's going to come talk a little bit about soccer for us, and he's going to debut his new show, which will start in a couple of weeks. He's going to Spain and then to England, where he's covering both the Champions League and, of course, the English Premiership. So we'll have a lot of guests coming up, and in the next week or two, we're going to have Bill Bender from Sporting News, and Rich Cimarello from the Maxwell Foundation, talking about college football and specifically about the draft. So we got all kinds of fun stuff coming up. So hit that like button, because please show us you like us. We like you. And if you had a like button, we'd hit it. And also, subscribe and hit the bell as well. So that's it for today, folks. We've had a lot of good questions, a lot of fun stuff, and hope you enjoyed it. We shall return tomorrow at 2 p.m. All right, so be there with us. We're going to have a lot of fun. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Bingo. Da, 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 da.
Right. I was going to say your mic was off again.